Dr. Othman, thank you for joining us here at One Path Network. We've prepared a series of clips of Ben Shapiro addressing the Oxford Union, and we want to hear your thoughts on them.
Civilian casualties are a cost of war. There's a vast difference in moral scope between deliberately going into a civilian area and murdering everyone you can find and trying to kill a terrorist who is deliberately hiding beneath a civilian area, hiding their rockets in civilian areas, starving their own people. So my question is, do you believe that there is a moral difference between Hamas going into, for example, Kfar Aza and murdering entire families, and Israel attempting to target terrorists and accidentally hitting civilians?
So how would you respond to that?
Well, there's a number of claims being made there. I think the prime claim being made is about a false moral equivalence. And in fact, on that point, as a normative point, I would agree that it is not correct to morally equate between the targeting of civilians and the accidental or unintentional killing of civilians, what's called collateral damage. However, the application of that is completely warped in this case because the rest of the claims made are just that, they're empty claims. The idea that the IDF does not target civilians, the idea that the Palestinian resistance does target civilians, the idea that they use human shields, these are empty claims that are evidenceless. And we have to be very, very clear about that. Doesn't matter if you repeat a lie 50,000 times, it's still a lie. And in fact, the opposite is true. The idea that the IDF does not target civilians, people have been around long enough. The year 2000, the case of Muhammad al-Durra, the world saw that played out on the screen. The case of, 2014, 4 boys playing, 4 young children, 9 to 11 years old, 4 cousins playing soccer on the beach in Gaza. No military targets in sight, journalist hotel nearby. The world saw that. Our journalist Shireen Abu Akla, Israel doesn't target civilians. 28th March, the humanitarian, the flotilla. Mm-hmm. There are numerous, and these are clear examples, right? Yeah. When it comes to the case of what's happening now in Gaza, for instance, where you're just bombing everything, and this is the point, right? You can bomb anything in Gaza and say, Hamas did this. Bombing ambulances, Hamas was in the ambulance. Bombing a bakery, they were there. Bombing hospitals, Hamas was underneath the hospital. Where's your evidence? Literally, Israel. This is the remarkable nature of this situation. Israel can break every single rule of international law, of the rules of war, of basic morality, and just shoehorn Hamas into the picture somewhere, and they don't have to prove anything.
So recently there was a bombing of a refugee camp killing 400 civilians.
Absolutely.
Israel said that there was 1 commander in the camp. Is this evidence enough for you?
First of all, there was no evidence. They haven't provided evidence that this person was there. But secondly, even if it was, the idea that you can kill hundreds of people, innocent people, because there's one person there who's let's say a military target, is ridiculous. According to which moral calculus is that right? And this is why people have raised very, very valid questions. If that was in Jaffa, in Tel Aviv, they wouldn't do that. You wouldn't bomb a hospital in Tel Aviv, killing 500 people, or a shopping center or a school because there was 1 or 2 people that are targets in that. This is the point, that human beings have to stand up, and they are standing up as human beings, saying this is completely unacceptable.
Which part of Palestine is occupied?
The entirety of Palestine, but I'm not calling for the destruction of Jews.
I appreciate you expressing your full genocidal intent for the Jewish people living between the river.
Why is it genocidal?
So how do you counter that?
We're being told that free Palestine from the river to the sea means genocide of the Jews. That's a horrendous inference. Many of the Jews that came to Israel when it was established and afterwards are migrants. They immigrated there, right? When we're talking about giving the land back to the Palestinians, this is a matter of a transfer of authority, a political sovereignty, right? It's not saying anything about the people. Yes, of course, now there are millions of Jews that live there, and there are millions of Palestinians that should be given back their land. That shouldn't be controversial. So what's going to be done? It doesn't mean killing. Claiming of victimhood and the painting of others as monsters is what's being done here. Oh, you deny our right to exist. You want to eradicate Israel. No, I want to dismantle an occupation. What else do you do with occupations? What else do you do with oppressors and tyrants? So I think this is what we need to unpack the propaganda and really respond and explain the facts and the truths as they are.
Your entire claim is that the Arabs did not reject peace, and then in your own disquisition, you admitted that the Arabs rejected the Peel Commission plan, which was a separation between the Jews and the Arabs, which gave an extraordinary amount of land to the Arabs. The Arabs then rejected the peace partition plan proposed by the United Nations in 1947. They then proceeded to reject the Oslo Accords in 93. After that, they rejected the Wye River Accords in 98. They rejected Ehud Barak's very generous offer in 2000.
This is the other big part of the propaganda narrative. Israel's always wanted peace with the Arabs. The Arabs have never wanted peace. But you've come here, kicked people out, occupied the land, and then wanted to do peace negotiations. This is like, this is like certain people come to Australia, let's use Australia. They come to New South Wales, take a land, push the people out, and they go, let's have peace negotiations. We get 50%, you get 50%. We get 41%, you get 70%. What? Why would anyone accept that? Let's use a contemporary example. Russia's invaded Ukraine. Now they've occupied certain parts of it. Mm-hmm. Let's say they end up occupying half of Ukraine, right, by 2025, for example, hypothetically. Would it then be fine to then start negotiations, how much Russia gets and how much Ukraine gets? And then if people start saying Russia has a right to exist, that part of Ukraine, am I wrong to push back on that? No, it's an occupation. Israel is an occupation. Force that was established by forcibly dispossessing people, many of whom still have the keys to their homes. As soon as you start unpacking some of these narratives and stories, you see that they really don't hold any water.
Israel has not
if Israel put down its guns tomorrow,
if
Israel put down its guns tomorrow, there would be a second Holocaust. If the Palestinians put down their guns tomorrow, there would be a Palestinian state. That is the reality.
So what's your response to that?
That's complete nonsense. It's complete hyperbole. Has no basis in ground realities. This is a clear example of a transparent propaganda tactic in which the aggressor is trying to take the place of the victim. The fact of the matter is that we are seeing a genocide play out in real time in Gaza as we speak. We've all seen it over the last month. Yet propagandists, the go-bells of our time like Ben Shapiro, want us to believe that the problem here is that Israelis face the potential of a genocide. So an actual genocide doesn't matter. An actual playing out genocide is justifiable. We should be worried about some potential, hypothetical, completely imaginary Holocaust that's going to play out in Israel if Israel puts its gun down. That's nonsense. The reason he's going down that path is because, number one, it gives him a carte blanche for Israel to do whatever it likes in Gaza. Bomb hospitals, bomb bakeries, bomb schools, kill thousands of innocent people, kill thousands of children, because why? Why is it justified? Oh, potentially there's some boogeyman that's going to inflict a Holocaust on us. The other side of this is that it's a way to justify occupation. It's a way to disarm people who are saying the occupation should be reversed by tying cause for the reversal of the occupation with genocide. But why is the call for dismantling a political entity being tied to a genocide? That's nonsense, right? Israel is an occupation. Let's reiterate the ground realities. Israel is an occupation, and a brutal occupation that's dispossessed millions, that's oppressed millions, that's resulted in generations of Palestinians living in refugee camps, being besieged and being brutalized on a daily basis. Calls to reverse that and to stop that are not in any way cause for a genocide or cause to kill the Jews or drive them into the sea or any nonsense like that. These are calls for dismantling a political entity, for a transfer of authority, for a transfer of sovereignty. It has nothing to do with killing anyone, right? There are very, very simple and clear ways in which this can be done. You return the land, and if there's a population. If there's an issue of population here, there are various ways. People can go back where they came from. Dual citizens can go. There are various options, right? And of course, Israel's not going to do that. We know they're not going to do that. But the point is that attaching the idea of reversing occupation with genocide is a completely immoral and a transparent form of propaganda. Of course, Israel's not going to make any of these changes. And this is why what's most important is for people to stand up and amplify the cause for truth and amplify the voices of the oppressed.
Dr. Hartman, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Jazakallah khairan. Salam.